Hello, chefs. You're listening to Chef's PSA Podcast. I'm Andre Natera, your host. Today, we are recording our first ever episode of Chef's PSA Podcast. What this podcast is really going to be about is tackling the subjects that chefs and cooks want to hear, what's going on in the industry, specific pet peeves, rants, all the good stuff. So without further ado, get ready, listen up. Today's rant is really going to be focused on the subject of what the hell is going on in the industry and where are all the cooks. I think before we get started, we talk about, kind of the history of what got us in this situation. And let's go back a couple of years. And I'm talking about before COVID. If you rewind the clock almost to the point when I started cooking, I went to culinary school in 1995. And when I got out of school, there wasn't a whole lot of competition to get a job. I remember walking into places and being the only person with a culinary degree. So I would be able to fast track usually up the hierarchy of a kitchen much quicker because almost everyone else didn't have a culinary degree. Fast forward a few years, the Food Network really blows up. You have Emeril, you have Mario Batali, you have Ming Tsai, you have all these famous chefs doing their thing. So there's a lot of interest in becoming a chef. Top Chef comes out, Gordon Ramsay becomes what he is, the celebrity that everyone knows as a household name, Bobby Flay, so on and so forth. And then culinary schools, which, there was only a few when I went. It was CIA, Johnson and Wales. I happened to go to the Western Culinary Institute, which was a Le Cordon Bleu in Portland, Oregon. But you started to see specifically Le Cordon Bleus and art institutes pop up everywhere. They were in almost every major city, and culinary students were being pumped out. I remember as an executive chef, I would get a stack of resumes. I'm talking like 30 resumes that have one position open. And every single one, roughly looked the same: culinary school experience, culinary school experience, culinary school experience. And I'd notice one, that had culinary experience from school and a little bit of work experience. And, I would usually put them at the top of the list thinking, okay, everyone has culinary school experience, that kind of like price of entry. So if they have a little bit of work experience, they automatically were the first person I was going to interview because it was like, okay, you're the only person in your whole school that works, you're hired. So it was really interesting to see so many people, funneling in for such few jobs. Culinary schools were pumping out so many people at this time. I remember I was turning people down because we had so many cooks saturating the market. A couple of years go by, quite honestly, a lot of people lost interest in food television. Netflix comes on, they had their Chef's Table series, but you really don't watch Food Network the way you used to. They weren't really chef shows anymore. There were more cook shows. And what I mean by that was like shows that were designed to entertain home cooks versus shows that were really designed to entertain chefs. And so you started to see a shift in the industry where people weren't that interested in watching food TV as much as they were a few years previously. On top of that, you had a massive closure of culinary schools across the nation. So Le Cordon Bleu schools were closing left and right. As a matter of fact, fun fact, I gave the final commencement speech ever at a Le Cordon Bleu school in Dallas. The final Le Cordon Bleu school closed, and the final graduation class ever in the United States, I was able to speak to those students. So that's a feather in the cap. That's neither here nor there. I'm just bragging a little bit. So around 2018, 2019, I started to notice a big shift. So like I said earlier, I had a stack of resumes anytime I posted a job. To now, it was much more difficult to even just get a few resumes for a job. Things had definitely changed. All of a sudden, I don't have a line out the door. And it's not just me. It's, so many other restaurants across the country. You could see now where restaurants before that had a line out the door, everyone wants to work in certain restaurants. Now these restaurants have job fairs. People are posting ads on Craigslist, where before people were just showing up saying, please, 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 can I work in your kitchen? Not the case anymore. So times definitely started changing. And this was right before COVID. So there was already a cook shortage leading up to COVID, and then boom, COVID happens. What's interesting about when COVID happened is for the first time ever, and people might not understand this, so I'll explain a little bit. When a restaurant opens up in your neighborhood or a hotel or whatever, you happen to be in another country club, if you're a country club chef, you're going to lose people. People are going to go work for your competitor when they open up because usually the new place opening up is paying more. So they're incentivizing people to come work at their place because they're paying more. It's a shiny new kitchen. All the equipment works. There's no bad habits. You want to get rid of the old friends and make a whole bunch of new friends. There's a lot of incentive for cooks to go to the shiny new restaurant kitchen when it opens up. Now, like I said, that is going to happen when a new place opens up. Now, can you imagine, first time ever, at least the first time I could think of, across the country and maybe even across the world, every single restaurant closes and every single restaurant starts opening. So everyone is fighting for the same cooks, the same finite number of resources. There's not enough cooks to go around because a lot of people have changed their mind. A lot of people decide they don't want to be a chef anymore. They don't want to cook anymore for whatever reason. Maybe they want to stay home. Maybe they found a new passion. Maybe they're trading cryptocurrencies or, starting podcasts or whatever the case may be. But they decided to not go back into the industry, which created a big hole because now we're all fighting for the same number of cooks. And that number has probably, I'm just making this number up, maybe it's been cut in half, makes it very difficult. Chefs have to rethink what they're doing. They have to adjust menus. They have to shrink kitchens. They got to relook at their staffing model. Things are very different at this point. So now every restaurant is opening up and all the cooks are starting to come back. Cooks are not stupid. They're smart. They figure out that, hey, I could play arbitrage between employers. They're paying me $13 an hour. I could go over there. They're going to pay me $14. I could negotiate and go back and say, they're paying me $14. Will you give me $15? You get the point. And this is happening. I saw many places, their cook starting wage, roughly $13 an hour, in a couple of months, move all the way up to $22 an hour, which is unheard of. You would never see that in the past. So it was absolutely insane to see what chefs were willing to do just to get these cooks. And what was interesting about it is now the cooks have all the leverage. So they're coming into places and saying, hey, not only do I want this, I might even want this title, which caused a lot of people to promote people in position that may have not been ready. They might not have had enough experience. They may not have had the level of culinary skills required for that position. But nonetheless, there's no one else, and I don't want to work 7 days a week, open to close. I need someone by my side. I need the sous chef. And even though you're not qualified, guess what? You're the only person applying for the job that's interested, so you're getting it. And I know a lot of people had to make that tough decision. And it wasn't just promoting people into sous chef. It was the scheduling preferences. I can't work weekends. I need Sundays off. I can only work PMs, whatever the case may be. Things that you would have said no to, you would have said, absolutely not. This is the schedule. You want the job or not. Now, all of a sudden, you're saying, okay, I could work with you. Can you please take the job? So chefs had to completely concede. The cooks were in charge. And it was, if you're a cook, it's a beautiful thing because you could sit there and get really whatever you wanted. You want this amount of money. You want this schedule. You want this title. Done. It's yours. So kudos to all the cooks that leveraged their position. And if you didn't take advantage, you should have, because it was your time to take advantage of that. But the thing is, eventually things don't become sustainable, right? You need to make money. That's the purpose of the restaurant. You got to operate. You can't close every single day just because the cooks don't want to work. Eventually something's got to give. And you can only give so much money before you say it's not profitable anymore. If I continue to give everyone another raise and another raise and another raise, you've already gone as far down as you can into your profit line to say, that's it. I can't give any more money. So now everyone's like, okay, everything kind of levels out a little bit. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist anymore, but I'm saying it's kind of slowed down just a little bit. So then, okay, if you can't offer me more money and you can't offer me a better position, what can you offer? So now, this is a good thing, by the way, what I'm going to say next, is it really caused a lot of chefs and employers to rethink what the culture is going to be like in their particular kitchen or their particular restaurant. So they start thinking, are we going to offer this? Are we going to offer certain benefits or certain perks for employees, which is a good thing, right? We all want better working environment for the industry. I don't think I'm alone in that. I spent 27 years in the business, and 15 of those years were as the executive chef. And it's hard. And I missed a lot of things. And I would have loved for the environment to have been better at times. But nonetheless, it's something that we didn't think about very much because it was my way or the highway is typically the way kitchens are run. But now all of a sudden, okay, we got to rethink this. So there was a great emphasis on how do we make ourselves the best place to work, because all of a sudden everything's leveled out. I can't offer you any more money. I can't offer you a better title, but this is a great place and here's why you want to work here. So now I'm not certain when this is going to be aired, but today is July 20th. And what's interesting right now that I notice is that all of a sudden I'm seeing food programs, interesting chef food programs back on TV. Iron Chef America, I believe, is back on Netflix. Now, I haven't seen it, so I can't comment on if it's good or bad. I did a poll on Iron Chef America, and everyone said don't see it, so I haven't been too eager to watch it. But it seems like it's that food competition. It has some great chefs on there. So I think it will excite a lot of people to get back into cooking and back into serious cooking as a chef, and not just I want to get in and screw around and see if I like it. And no, people are getting excited. This is their passion. I see the person on TV. I want to be that. But the other show that's really interesting to me right now is The Bear. And I just started watching it. I also did a poll on my Instagram on Chef's PSA and said, should I watch The Bear? And everyone's like, yes, watch it. It's great. Everyone that I've talked to says, watch it. It's great. And I honestly, I started watching it and I really like the show. I'm only about 3 episodes in, so don't spoil it. Eater spoiled it. They posted a spoiler on Twitter without saying anything. So I was pretty pissed about that classic Eater move, ruining it for everybody. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I really do like the show The Bear. I feel like it does capture a lot of that feeling of kitchens, and it's not every kitchen's the same. It does have that chaotic feel, which I've worked in kitchens that feel that chaotic, but it also incorporates a lot of that soigné professionalism, things that I'm passionate about, like on the Chef's PSA. One of the first things I notice on the show on season one is, subtle. Cook's walking by and he says, "Chef, don't wipe your hands on your apron." And it's like, yes, I have a PSA like that I think it says a good chef never wipes their filthy hands on their clean apron. And it's true. And it's interesting to see all the little things, all the attention to detail that went into the show. So whoever's writing the show, and I don't know, I don't even know the bear's name, but it's good so far. But the point being is that shows like The Bear, shows like Iron Chef America are going to get people excited to go back into kitchens and get excited about that. And maybe people that left are going to get excited and say, I miss the kitchen. That show reminds me of this. I want to go back. I miss it. Because there's a lot of passion in the kitchen. There's a lot of passion in what we do. We love it. We do it for a reason. Sometimes we do it for the food because we love cooking and we love feeding other people. And other people do it because they just love the chaos. They love the culture. They love the grind. They love the griminess. They love the team. They love that sense of belonging. So kitchens provide a little something different for everybody that works in them. It's a very unique experience, and all kitchens are different. So they all provide something different for everybody. But there's a lot that chefs have to contend with now. Because if you're a little bit of an older chef and you've been doing this for a while, and during the pandemic, you saw this, right? Everyone was doing their cooking tutorials. I think I saw every famous chef and every chef I know making a spinach salad or, searing a salmon or whatever, right? Like everyone was teaching you how to cook and no one was watching. That was the funny part. No one was watching these great chefs teach you how to cook. What everyone's watching is like everyone's watching these kids on TikTok. Let me show you how to make meatballs with, spicy Cheetos or, I don't know, like that. Whatever the point being is that what was interesting is like you have these young kids that are in the kitchen for the first time. And when I was coming up, like you wanted to be the chef. You'd look at the chef and you say, I want to be like them. They're amazing. They have all that power. They walk around the kitchen with that tall hat. Back then people used to wear tall hats. And you're like, I aspire to be that one day. And you respected them. They knew everything. This was before Google, and you just assumed the head chef knew everything, and don't ever question them. And if culinary school taught you one thing and the head chef said something completely different, you're like, your head was going to explode because you didn't know who was right. Fast forward to the current situation, and you have kids or people, I shouldn't say kids, but young adults that are on TikTok, and they look at the chef and they say, you got like 100 followers on Instagram and no one watched your spinach salad tutorial. No one cared about it. And I got 1 million followers on TikTok and everyone loved my meatballs with Cheeto dust or, whatever they made. And they think I'm more successful than you. And in their mind, what they measure as success, it's correct. If they're measuring success by TikTok followers or social media likes, then yes, they are more successful than the chef that they work for. However, when it comes to being a chef, serving people, running kitchens, there's a lot of knowledge that goes into that. So no, you're not as successful as that person. So it depends really what you're measuring success by, which takes us to how do we turn it around? What does that look like? What do we do as an industry? And I'll tell you, I'm optimistic. I do think that people will start coming back. I think it's good that the Food Network is coming back. I think it's nice to see The Bear on TV and Iron Chef America. I think Bourdain obviously left a big void, when he passed away. And food TV really hasn't been the same. So there was, the kind of the air got sucked out of the room. But I do feel that energy starting to come back. People miss cooking. People are reinterested in being chefs again. People are going out to eat more. The cooks are starting to come back. There's general interest again in culinary schools. So, and again, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know if this is correct, but in my opinion, I do think that things will start to get better and things should start leveling out and cooks should start coming back into the industry. The other good thing is, I talked a little bit about earlier, is that you promoted people in position that may have not been ready for it. Well, time's passed. So that was, 2021. Now we're, 2 years or so later. Those people that were promoted into positions that weren't ready are more ready now. They have 2 years or so of experience in position. They're better sous chefs or whatever you promoted them into. So things again, the kitchens should start stabilizing a little bit more. The culture is better, like we talked about. People are offering better incentives for people to work in their kitchens and restaurants. So overall, yes, it was a grind and it was a tough storm to go through. But overall, I think kitchens hopefully should be better for it. And the industry as a whole should have seen, a nice little growth spurt that we haven't seen in a long time. And that pretty much wraps up this Chef's PSA episode. The episode format is going to be a lot like this. It's going to be, 15, 20-minute rants on a specific subject, talking about what's current in the industry. The whole purpose of this is really to provide information. A lot of people don't have access to chefs or mentors. So you could think of this episode as you having a conversation with a chef. I'm your chef. So, yes, chef, next time you see me, I'm going to be your mentor. I'm going to guide you along. Look, if you don't like what I have to say, you don't have to listen, but you could tell everyone not to listen. So maybe they won't listen to you. Anyway, thank you all. And we'll see you on the next episode.